Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Mason J Show. I am Mason, your host. If you are a new listener here, thank you so much for checking out this episode. Today we have Iron Mind Joe on the podcast, who is a driving creator and artistic lead behind the Iron Mind Gym in Chicago, which is tagged The Chicago Gym. I'm so excited to have Joe on the podcast because he has been on the podcast before. If you do not know, Joe was one of the first larger guests, you can say, that I had on the podcast back in 2020 when I first started going to Iron Mind when I was living in Chicago. I'll have that episode tagged in the description of this episode. I highly recommend you check that out because we touch on different topics in this episode than we do on that one. That episode was much more focused around Joe's driving force behind creating the gym with his father and the machinery and some of the influences behind that. This episode today is a lot more of Joe's morals and ideals behind the Ideal Gym, his struggles in creating it through COVID, and his all-around beliefs on health and wellness. Much different conversation today than the last episode, but again, definitely check that out. Also, I highly recommend, if you are a gym enthusiast, that you check out the episode with Brik Sublett, who I will also tag in the description here. Brik is a owner of the Exile Performance Supplement Shop inside of Exile Gym, which is located in Rosedale, Maryland. Another gym that I highly recommend, and I will say is one of the best gyms on the East Coast, Exile Fitness. That episode is linked in the description. Feel free to check that out. We are going to jump right into this episode. We're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. I'd also like to give you guys a quick update on the podcast as a whole. So as we are today, I have 5 more episodes to release until this season is officially over. My plans moving forward are having this season of podcast, season 2, end in early December. I'm going to take a hiatus from uploading over the winter break while I focus on snowboarding, and then come spring, we're going to revamp the podcast and figure out what it's going to be come season 3. So we have 5 more episodes, 4 more guests, and a solo episode to recap it. So thankful for all of you guys tuning in up to this point. If you are a new listener, these episodes are available on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you get your podcasts. You can stream the audio. It's also available in video if you tune in on YouTube or Spotify. You can check out the video version of this, which I highly recommend. And always appreciate any feedback, any comments. If you are enjoying the podcast, a subscription, a rate on Spotify would be super helpful, just to let me know that you guys are enjoying what's going on. I'll have our social media handles tagged in the description as well. And I think that's just about all I wanted to cover. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode. We're going to get a quick word from our sponsor and then jump right into the episode with Joe, the owner of Iron Mind Gym. Hey guys, going to take a quick break from the episode just to highlight a sponsor of this season of the Mason J Show, and today we have Spencer Banger, a loan officer with Fidelity Direct Mortgage, here to offer the listeners of my podcast some free knowledge and education on the home buying process, and hopefully to be your loan officer when it comes to your new home purchase or refinance of the current home you have. Spencer has been in the mortgage industry for over 8 years and run through the home buying process thousands and thousands of times, and that means that he is an absolute expert and will catch the little details that turn into big problems down the road. Spencer is offering a free consultation to any of my listeners to go over your credit and your home buying eligibility to see if you qualify for the home or refinance that you're looking for. All you have to do is send an email to spencer@fdmhome.com, reference the podcast, and that you're there for your consultation. Spencer is somebody that I absolutely trust because I've seen him work firsthand, and I wouldn't put a sponsor on the episode if it wasn't somebody or something that I think would really help you guys out. And I actually mean that. Thank you guys so much. Back to the episode. Spencer's NMLS ID is 1202142, and Fidelity Direct Mortgage's number is 188829. Thanks, guys. And everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mason J Show. We are here in Chicago at the Iron Mind Gym with Joe, the owner of Iron Mind Gym, the Chicago Gym. That's right. Joe, welcome back to the podcast, because you've been on this before. One of my first sizable guests that I had back. It's been like 2 years ago. Sizable in 2 ways, right? That's right. Well, you're a little bigger now.
Getting back to training a little bit, so.
Yeah, because then you were recovering from a surgery, just kind of coming out of that, right?
Yeah, a couple surgeries. But yeah, then I ended up getting on TRT, which has been really good for training.
Nice.
I was dealing with some low testosterone issues, and Doc was able to get that back up for me. And yeah, I definitely have the motivation. I've always had the passion, but the motivation's back. So
did you find the TRT kind of just helped your body to get back to like strength and recover from injuries a little faster?
Honestly, it's an anabolic steroid, but it's not in any way advancing me past like a normal person. It's getting me back to like good physical health, where I'm motivated to get up out of bed in the morning, because with low testosterone comes like a decent amount of like negative side effects, especially like depression being one of the biggest.
Right.
And men naturally have a decrease in testosterone leading into like their later 30s, early 40s. Obviously, being 25, I'll be 26 this month, shouldn't be dealing with these issues. But due to like some of these medical issues I've dealt with in the past, and I'm sure some of my competing just a little bit, ended up landing me in the spot I'm in. But I'm back to good health. Training, chasing that pump, a little bit of growth here and there, but I've been way more focused on the growth side of the business than my own body. Right now, my own body is more of a maintenance, maintaining it.
Well, you gotta take care of it.
Yeah, it's no matter what you do, and like obviously I own a gym. I sell memberships on a daily basis. I get to hear people's goals, and no matter what your goal is, maintaining a healthy body is number one, because you only get one of those. And no matter what it is that you do, it's very important for like any hobby, any aspect of life.
I like to think about it, and I watched a couple YouTube videos recently that are just like fresh in my brain, and they were talking about how like it's important to realize that like your mind is important, because your mind is what controls your thoughts and your actions and is your ability to navigate through life, but your body is and should be thought of as a privilege that you are supposed to take care of, because you don't have to take care of your body.
No.
It'll last for a certain amount of time, but if you do take care of your body, your just quality of life is that much better. But again, like nobody's gonna force you to do it. Like having a body in this world is a privilege that can be taken away at any moment, meaning like people pass away for all types of reasons, and it's just one of those things that a lot of people take for granted.
A lot of times
everybody has it.
It becomes too late for a lot of people, where they wait till like the medical issues start happening. And I think preventative matters, and that's where like the fitness industry sometimes disagrees with like the medical industry. Medical industry often just wants to get people back to a spot where they can live, where like the fitness industry is all about that quality of life, not just like starting off with throwing you on a medication. It's like, okay, what can we do about like changing your diet, changing your like lifestyle habits, like sleeping or eating, or like we said, diet, hydration. How much physical activity are you getting on a day-to-day basis? Because most people are living sedentary lifestyles, and they work a 9 to 5, and they're sitting behind like a desk like this. You know, I find myself even like working in the gym, sitting behind a desk like this often, and I started doing a little bit of personal training. It has me more on my feet throughout the day, and I gotta say, I feel like 100 times better.
That's awesome.
Just getting up and around and moving, because it's easy to get caught up on like the back end of owning the gym and the computer work and stuff like that, marketing, advertising. But that being out there amongst my members, amongst my community, and thriving in the same environment they are in, definitely makes me feel good when it's possible.
So. Can you give a little overview for people that aren't familiar with you or the gym here, kind of what's going on here at Iron Mind?
Yeah, so guys, we're a 24/7 key fob access facility. We base ourselves towards bodybuilding. We are able to accommodate the powerlifter, the strongmen, the competitors, the athletes. But as I said on the last show, we're here for everyone. People of all shapes, sizes, ages, goals. A lot of people start off at like a Planet Fitness as like a beginner, we'll call it, into their health and fitness journey. But I feel like it's always like it's like a faster way to learn and grow, going into like an immersive culture where you have people that are like training for 30 years, 40 years, have tons of experience, and like have been making those mistakes that you can make in like health and fitness, Like one for me is like stretching. I should have been doing that a long time ago. But when you're young, you're like, oh, I'm invincible.
Right.
You know, I could take it. But like through injury, you learn your lesson. And if you can find like a mentor or someone to guide you, and you will find that here, the community is super inviting. People are willing to just lend a helpful hand.
That's really important. And you're right. It's like, it's good to surround yourself with people who are better than you in any hobby that you're trying to get into, but specifically in the gym, a lot of corporate gyms or Anytime Fitnesses or Planet Fitnesses or, you know, X Sports, how you guys have out here, it's not the same sense of community. I feel like there definitely can be. I'm not saying they never have them, but in a more private, tight-knit community like you've built here at Iron Mine, you know, in the time that I was working out here in 2019, like I saw that very similar to the gym that I go to in Maryland, Exile. It's like these hardcore bodybuilding environments, people expect them to be super intimidating to walk in and like people to kind of like side-eye you and give you these things. But realistically, when you come into gyms like this, everybody's willing to help you and super nice and just like not the hardened like dudes that you would think you'd run into.
Well, it's the way they advertise them, meatheads, lunks. But again, yeah, like you said, these are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
So like being in this environment where the owner is present and passionate about his business and his community, like we pride ourselves on two things is what I always tell everyone. It's the community and atmosphere here as well as the equipment itself. Obviously last time we talked, maybe not for the viewers if they didn't tune into the old episode, but we touched a lot on like hardcore bodybuilding style equipment and like but that community atmosphere is what I've been pushing even harder since the last time we talked. With the growth of the business since then, we've expanded our business to double the square footage, which doesn't quite mean double the members. I think last time we talked, I said I was at 530 members. We're about 660 with a cap of like 850. So we have room for about like 190 members more. And with more people comes potentially more problems if someone's not understanding of the common sense rules. So I spend a lot of time talking with my people as they're signing up, giving full thorough tours to make sure everyone's understanding of like all the tools we have accessible here for their workouts, but also to break down those rules where I don't need all of Chicago to sign up to be a successful business. Just the people that are going to respect my rules, respect my members, and respect the facility itself, because we made something really nice here, at least in my opinion, and
You do.
the opinion of most of my members, it seems.
You guys have a special space here, and I really like it because this isn't a, you know, business-owned business, right? Like it's you own the business.
Yeah.
This is as close to a family sense as you can get with you as the owner here. Because you are the sole owner?
Well, my father is still 50-50 partners with me.
Okay.
He really stepped away from like making a lot of the business decisions back in 2019. And since then I've created this plan for myself, like a 2, a 5, a 10-year plan. And so far to date, we've executed everyone on time to the exact goal that we said we were going to achieve years ago. Which has been really fun to see.
Congratulations.
And like, thank you. I looked back at our podcast and I was talking about doing things that are done now. So it really goes to show is like, if you want something, you just got to go out there and get it, and you got to work towards it with everything you have. And I am still a firm believer you could have anything you want if you're willing to work for it.
Yep. I feel like patiently work for it is important too, because I've noticed that in my push, you know, for the podcast or just growth in my personal life, it's like there's a lot of times when I go through the tribulations of work where I get like hard stops, and it's very easy to just take that as a fail and be like, okay, this plan isn't going to work. But it's like the working through the difficulties and the like triangulating around obstacles that the common person may just be like, okay, that's it. Like here's the stop, but then you have to just back up, reapproach it, and a lot of times you wind up finding solutions in ways that you never originally thought like it was going to work out.
What do you think the most valuable thing on the planet is?
That's okay. That's a good question. You
maybe
mean
not
like in a personality sense, or just like
what is the most valuable thing to you on this planet?
Community and other people that I trust that are close to me.
Now, I would say that's fair, right? I in my opinion, that's fair.
What do you think?
I think honestly, time. I think time is the most valuable asset on the planet.
It's definitely a very finite asset, yeah.
I think you could put that
Time is
into
important.
community.
Yeah.
You could put that into building a community. You could put that into comfort if you so decided.
Yeah.
You know, you could put that into bettering your body. And people come up with like obstacles that are seemingly like you can't like make it through, but at the end of the day, if you are determined, you'll still find your way through it. And as long as you don't stay down when you have a loss, right? I think everyone can make it through it if they decide to. I definitely have failed endeavors that I make. I execute things wrong constantly, and you just got to learn from your mistakes and grow from them.
That's a really big trend with the few people I've talked to that are in business owner situations or positions, I should say. Like the episode that I just dropped Thursday with Nick Gilson. He is the owner of Gilson Snowboards, or a creator and founder and owner of that brand, and he very much prophesizes that like it's all his successes are results of shortcomings and failures that he's had along the way, and like, you know, emphasizes how difficult the path has been for him starting that brand through like the manufacturing process and trying to like sell the boards to distributors and just having to pivot around these different success points in the business, all based around complete failures that have happened. And I feel like that's kind of what we touched on a few minutes ago. That's the important part of this whole process and why I wanted to have you on to, you know, share your experience.
I definitely feel like business isn't like one like telltale like what's the word I'm looking for? Like there's not one way to do it.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to follow a book to a T for business, but I feel like you will have a lot in common with other business owners and like in other industries. That's not one I'm super well studied in, is like the snowboarding industry, and you know, but there's ways to like work your way into an industry, as I've done, and I started when I was 20, and now I'm recognized as one of the top gyms in Illinois. And it did. Thank you.
Hell yeah, Joe.
Thank you. And I'm not
Chicago
saying that not being humble, because I still feel better gyms in Illinois as far as like equipment base, but I pride myself hardcore on my community, and I gotta say Ironman has one of the best communities in the city, if not the best. My people here are very friendly, very accommodating to one another. They work good as a community, and that does not mean that it happens every day like that. But one thing I've learned is to confront issues head on and make sure to solve problems. I'm a problem solver on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes maintaining the business and growing the business are two different things.
Right.
And to find that balance of both and be able to like take everything on my shoulders is not always possible, which is why I now have 3 employees. It's a real come up. I've never been a boss. I make mistakes as a boss all the time. I definitely try to treat all my employees with the utmost respect, and know that we're part of a team and we're building a community like none other in Chicago.
Do you find that the employees that work for you are more loyal, or you feel that they believe in the business and it's not about a paycheck for them? Do you feel like they're like committed to the brand itself?
You know, I think it varies from employee to employee. There's definitely strong points of certain employees and weak points. You know, no one's going to care about it like I do. This business that I've made, this community that I've built, this gym that I like to call the Chicago Gym, no one spent the 12-hour days here 7 days a week like I did in the beginning. No one worked without pay for years at a time. No one was sleeping here during the Chicago riots that were going on, or confronting the health inspectors that were trying to issue $10,000 tickets like I did. And I don't expect anyone to. But I can expect them to take pride in their gym, because all of my employees were gym members before they were employees. I do hire somewhat friends, people that I can trust in. That's the number one thing for my employment, is that I can trust my employee to take at least a little bit of pride every day in what they do here and the fact that they can change lives. I pay good. I pay good to my employees, but I want them to be taken care of and valued.
Absolutely.
So, I've undervalued myself for a long time, and I've underpaid myself, but it's because I wanted to go back to the community, go back to the business. Now for this year is the first time I've ever sustained my own life fully financially.
And how many years are you into the business?
We're coming on 6 years now. So
it's been a hustle.
Yeah, I definitely would have. I would 100% give credit to my father for being able to help me start this business and being able to take care of my living situation while growing the business. Because it was for real a sacrifice of like time, especially. And again, where do you value your time? I didn't value in drinking and going out and drinking when I was in my early 20s. Sure, having drinks every now and then is fun.
Yeah.
I'm a weed smoker, preferred that over drinking. But even then, if that comes in the way of my business or my goals as a business owner, it has to be cut down.
Yeah.
And I've had to make those cuts in my life as far as like, for health benefits or health issues on the other hand, and get back to that healthy style of living. And I'm there now, and it feels good. I feel like everyone has their vices. Mine has been mostly in caffeine, weed, nicotine, not so much on the drinking end. But
do you feel like that affects your training at all?
Drinking?
Any of them. Do any of them aid?
I would say nicotine is my least favorite of all the drugs I frequent. And it's mostly to do with like blood circulation, honestly. The pumps are less good. My lungs hurt.
Yeah.
Which I don't get from weed smoking whatsoever.
And so I've heard that nicotine is definitely I hear that like writers enjoy it a lot. People that are high functioning like with their brain. That nicotine is a drug that enhances your thought clarity when it's in your system, versus I find that marijuana is a drug that enhances your body's connection to tasks. Like marijuana helps to increase that mind to muscle connection and give you more control and focus over your like extremities.
Yeah.
Whereas nicotine is more focus and mental clarity.
I'll honestly say I am addicted to nicotine.
A lot of people are. And
I've done vapes, I've done hookah, I've done like pipe tobacco, I've done a little bit of cigarettes. Not a big fan of the cigarette, but the biggest one is for sure the vape. The vape is so easy to do anywhere you are, so you can get tremendous amounts of nicotine in a very short span of time. But yeah, no, the nicotine for me, it felt like it was curing an anxiety, right? But the anxiety I felt like was coming from the addiction, right?
Yeah.
So to soothe the anxiety that the addiction was giving me, I'd do more nicotine. So it felt very counterproductive, and it's been a hard quit. I've made it 6 days without.
6 days is good though. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going through what you're going through. I know, like I'm 24 also, well, year under you.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends and people in our generation are unfortunately addicted to vapes and the e-cigarettes, and like I've been lucky enough to stay away from it, but it's unfortunate the amount of people that I see that are like gripping onto this thing at the club or at the bar or at any point throughout the day, because it's just like you said, like the anxiety of not having it, but that's what the nicotine addiction does to you. And for all those people that are listening, I really hope that you guys will be like Joe and put an effort into getting yourself off of it. Because I think that down the line we're going to see a big issue, the same way that like cigarettes, everybody that started smoking cigarettes never knew anything bad about them, but
you don't even know anything about the vapes right now.
Everybody's putting this evaporated liquid that's using batteries to evaporate this right into your lungs and doing it almost 24 hours a day.
But, honestly, I gotta say, the times that I've been able to stop or I've switched to like the pouches, the nicotine pouches, working out has been a lot easier.
Interesting.
It's just, I think the breathing, more or less, the lung hurt is worse. The veins is like my own personal thing. I've had the surgeries that I've had because of like vascular issues. So for me, it's just a double-edged sword. That's already like not good. We call them cancer sticks.
Yeah.
As like a reminder almost to ourselves that like, hey, every time I pick this up, maybe I shouldn't be doing it. Yeah. Just adding that negative stigma behind it every time I do it. So,
what do you kind of switching gears here a little bit?
Yeah.
What was or is like your biggest inspiration behind the way that you've built Iron Mind Gym?
The biggest inspiration.
What drives you to not only in the artistic style of the gym and the artwork and the machine designs and what you decide to put in here, but also like what drives you to have this culture be towards bodybuilding and more of the hardcore aspect of fitness?
I just believe it builds this community base. I mean, we got to be a part of a documentary. It's called Access Muscle. And they go back into like the 60s and the 70s and this community that was yielded from the hardcore communities. And it was just an uplifting one. And I feel like eventually, if I'm able to do some type of like third party survey to like my members and offer the same thing to a corporate style gym, I don't think they're going to get the same results and like the positivity that like the fitness industry, or especially the hardcore fitness industry, is fed into their like work life, into their family life, overall well-being. I think you end up starting to deal with a bunch of stuff at a lot of those corporate style gyms because they have the most marketing, the most advertisement, the most locations. But a lot of times you're just looked at as a number.
Right.
And they don't care about the quality of your experience because they pump out like 10,000 memberships. I like I said, my cap is going to be somewhere around 850. And even once I start to open up locations outside of this one, which is on the agenda, I plan to hopefully have like 4 or 5 gyms in the next 15 years. Hopefully, I'm young, I got time.
You definitely do.
And I have like small goals to reach those larger goals. So even once I have that, I'm going to try to hire someone and put them in the position that I'm in currently here. And I'll probably go and open up those locations and then come back to this one because this is my home base. This is what I've built for years now, and this is my bread and butter, and I love being here with my community. But these other locations, I need someone that's passionate about it, that's willing to work, that loves what they do, loves helping people. It's not always about projections and numbers. Obviously, to run a business, you have to make money. So you have to understand what's coming in and what's going out. But more or less, these locations are all going to be built around that community base and the equipment selection. But what do I model it based off after? Like, what gives me my motivation to have it this way? Definitely those hardcore gyms of the past, and even how some of the most successful gyms across the country continue to run their facilities. And I've gotten to continue to meet more and more people in the industry that do what I do. And it's getting harder and harder, I'd say, in Illinois to find people that have the same passion that I have, that I have as well. Like, I'm not welcome.
The same passion for fitness?
Yeah. A lot of business owners in the area, gym owners, are very money hungry, and I feel like it shows on some of them. And I don't want to ever consider myself competition of someone because the only thing I'm competing with is me. I keep building my business to where I feel like it should be. And I watch the industry, watch all these other gyms, but I'm not here to compete. People are always going to decide where they would rather be, and I do think there's more than enough room in Illinois for there to be other gyms, other hardcore gyms.
There's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people, and like I said, I'm going to be able to take in 850. There's way more than that looking for like a hardcore community. But I just feel like the people that are serious about like helping others and creating a positive environment, like I feel like a blind eye is turned to a lot of wrongdoings, whether it's like gym members, gym staff, or even the owners themselves, like abusing their power in a sense. Here, I just want to be able to continue to live by my morals and my values and keep building something beautiful. In my eyes, what I do is not only a passion, but it's an art. I'm an artist. This is my canvas. And I can do basically anything I want within the boundaries of the law.
And that's the beauty of it, and like the excitement that I get when it comes to like even doing the podcast is like my own thing. It's like the way you just put it, like this is my canvas, this is your canvas, and it's so cool. And it's why it's been so fun for me to watch you over the past 2 years put this gym together, because I see you putting your own creativity in it and like making this space exactly what you envision it to be in your brain. And that's why I was curious to ask you that question, like where the art, comes from behind all this. And it's a beautiful thing when you get to have creative control over something. And creating a gym is something that I definitely want to do down the line. And we talked about that on the original podcast. So it's fun to see you put it together.
Yeah, man.
So Joe, can we give a little bit of information for those that haven't listened to the previous podcast, which is live on the channel? It is episode maybe 6 or 7. If you scroll back, it is you'll see it's labeled Iron Mind Gym with Joe. Check that out. That has a lot of information about Joe's inspiration starting the gym.
Yeah.
But for those that haven't listened to that just yet, can you give a little bit of background on basically you starting the gym, right? Because you bought it when you were 20, or you started it with your dad when you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
You are 20 now. Yeah. So how did that look, and kind of how much leeway did you get before like the pandemic hit and caused some problems?
So I'll give you a brief rundown. So we opened in 2016, November 1st. Mm-hmm. We had 2 months before the end of the year, so that year was a loss for us. But then it's been like exponential growth since like 2017. I would definitely say I was more focused towards the bodybuilding aspect of like my own personal career for the first couple years. And then, as I was trying to build like this pro career as a bodybuilder, what I realized is it's not always about like you could put everything into it, first go and become a pro. Which I learned very quickly after my first run where I didn't become pro. I moved heaven and hell to like make sure no one would beat me, and I still got beat. But it just took more times of going at it to be able to like make that happen. I still want to get back into it. But I took a break from it because I realized I already have the business. I don't have this pro career yet, but I do have this business and I could start building it. So I started building it around 2019, really heavy. I had realized that there's other gyms out there that could like move into the area and take my whole business away from me because they were larger, or they've been doing it longer, or because they were more business orientated than I was.
Or maybe you weren't like established enough to have like the name in the area.
I always used like, what if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came to Chicago and opened a gym?
You're done.
Yeah, it's scary. He's the most popular guy on the planet.
He would kill it in gyms. I'm actually surprised he doesn't have any.
Yeah, I'm very surprised. So like I try to think about it in that aspect, is I want to get to the point where like I have enough respect behind my gym's name that like even if a celebrity like The Rock wanted to move into the neighborhood, he would still like, take that into consideration, at least I'd hope.
Yeah.
But that's like my mind going far out there and like thinking about worst possible case scenarios. But I went into a fight or flight mode. Like I talked about, I created that 2, that 5, that 10-year business plan from like the end of 2019. And I started in 2020 on my business plan. And I'd started like way more on social media, way more marketing and advertising for the business, way more changes. I gained some of that like trust from my father to be able to start making changes on my own, because I was the one that was in the gym 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, learning the industry. And so I started making moves, and it was working. And then came COVID. And COVID kind of messed with a lot of everyone's life. And there's businesses that shut down that never reopened.
Absolutely.
After 40 years of being in business.
And it's interesting, like you were worried about The Rock coming in and, for example,
Yeah.
coming in and starting a business, but it's like if you hadn't had those concerns early on, maybe come time for the pandemic, you wouldn't have been as established. Like literally that's the same situation, completely different situation, but like the same threat of just your business being shut down, because of some outside element. And I mean, obviously that's worse than any other situation may have been, because I'm sure you get shut down permanently for a little while, right?
Yeah, so we pushed our boundaries a little with like everything given COVID, but we weren't even really sure what it was when everything first started. Some people were scared, some people weren't. You didn't know what to believe on the news. I think even some of that's still going on now, where you don't know whether they're stirring the pot, trying to make people pissed off or turn against each other, or like what's a lie, what's not. And you can do like fact checks, but like they censor stuff on the internet now
sometimes.
So like you just couldn't figure out what was going on. But one thing that I know is I had bills to pay. They weren't giving me any type of break on my business. They gave the PPP loans, I think, away for like a short period of time. If you didn't register for like the first day or two, you weren't getting it. They had like the max amounts that were coming in, and they only granted it to some people. Now, what was lucky with Iron Mine is we're definitely like a police, a fire neighborhood. We're on the very outskirts of Chicago, so it's like a lot of the working class, a lot of people that just like they just wanted to go on with their normal life. So when we shut down, we did shut down for about a month and a half, 2 months. We did complete renovations on the facility, the 3,300 square feet facility that we had, and we had about 325 members going into it. We shut down. A lot of people were pissed off. A lot of people wanted refunds. A lot of people didn't want to continue to pay into a business they couldn't attend. But about 250 of my members continued to pay into the gym because it was their home gym. It was the gym they knew to like love, and they were supporting me as a person. This is my livelihood.
That's a beautiful thing that you're not going to find in the corporate environments or the gyms that are strictly for business instead of for community. And that's something that you can't really trade and you can't really buy, those type of...
It broke my heart the first day, because we're a 24/7 gym. And the first day that there was no more people in here, the gym had never seen a day like that in like the 3 or 4 years that it had been open. It felt like just a warehouse full of equipment. Yeah. And it was hard. But we got to work. I got a couple surgeries done in that month and a half, 2 months, and I still managed to do full renovations on the gym. People came back to a brand new gym. It was amazing. And when I first opened, I was missing more calls that I could answer about our reopening. And we had to do like special like scheduling for like sessions. They were on the basis of like PT only. So we made up these things called advisory PT sessions. I won't go into great deal what that meant, but it was a way for us to be able to market and advertise that we were open again and for our members to come back and use the facility. And they were super grateful. And I was doing those 16-hour days that we talked about last podcast, 6 days a week. And I had one off day for mental wellness. Yeah. And those were the times where I was sleeping here during the riots that were going on downtown. Like I said, this is a cop neighborhood, and a lot of my cops were hurting. And, I will say that straight up is I'm sure there's bad people in every occupation. And I could tell you that the members that I had here that were cops, this is their job. They serve to protect, and they do what they can, but they're within the restraints of what the city will let them do or what they could do given the job. And a lot of things are split decisions, where if most people were put in the same circumstances, I feel like they'd fail. And honestly, I'm going to stand by my police. I'm going to stand by my fire. And I love having them as members of my community. But besides that, we signed up 250 people in 4 days. We capped out our membership.
That's about when I came and joined the gym, is right around when you guys opened back up. And that was one of the things that really solidified my passion for this gym, is because I saw how hard you were working to make this happen. And, yeah, there's one thing, like, you have bills to pay, but I didn't get the sense that you were here, at 6 a.m.
For
all
bills,
those weeks,
no.
just for bills. No. You were here because you were genuinely,
my members were hurting.
Concerned for your members, and I'm sure you got a lot of satisfaction out of providing this space for people to come, because working out, I remember the first time I got to work back out after 6 months of being in lockdown, it felt great. It felt like a brand new opportunity, because I had weights back at my house that were fine. I mean, I had like a couple barbells and that, but it's like working out in your bedroom is never going to be the same as being in like a gym with the music blasting and people around you.
It's true. I mean, and I was here for all my people, and I was doing it not solely because of the bills needing to be paid, but also people's mental health. This is a therapy for most people. People need this.
Yes.
And they took that away from people during that time. And for safety, we shut down for a month and a half until they got figured out like what was going on. But they pushed it like further than I feel like was for safety, because they didn't come in here and were concerned for my members. They were concerned about the $10,000 tickets they were trying to hand out for any violation whatsoever. And that meant even if everyone was wearing a mask in the gym, if there wasn't stickers on the floor and signs on the wall, and then eventually they pushed even further to every one of my members that worked on the facility had to be vaccinated. It went that far, and people were losing their jobs over it. Mm-hmm. And now you turn on the news and they say that the vaccinations aren't necessary anymore, and masks aren't necessary anymore. So all those businesses of 40 years gone because of
Tragic.
what? Just like not understanding a situation. There's a lot of people that lost their lives, I'm sure, because of COVID as well. And I think it gave testimony to why health matters so much. To put yourself in the best situation to be able to combat any type of illness or virus. Mm-hmm. I got to say, out of all of my members in the facility that I know of, none of any of the ones that did get sick at any point through COVID, none of them passed. Most of them made it through, and the flu could come through and kill someone who's 80 now.
Yeah.
And I think to take care of your body, which I don't think majority of America does. The average American can do 0 pull-ups, and I think that's a sad fact. I think obesity is a huge problem. I think addiction, like we were just talking on not long ago, is a huge problem. Addiction to food, addiction to nicotine, addiction to alcohol. And I think one addiction that's healthier than them all is getting addicted to the weight room.
Yeah.
And getting addicted to taking care of your body. And it's not always about what's in the mirror. I mean, it sure does feel good when you look good, but I think just to be able to feel good walking up some stairs, or be able to move your couch if necessary in your house, having that functional ability to live is very important.
And it's a gift that you give people, like you've built this gym, and now people in this community are able to change their bodies through the hard work that you've done. And that's, I said the same thing to Brik and Miss Sheila over at Exile when I talk to them and go there. It's like you, by building this gym, you're changing the makeup of the people in this area, and you're building literally a stronger community.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a cool thing, because you see people. You see them in the gym, and then you see them out, at the grocery store, or just, wherever you go about. And it's just good to put more physical role models out into society, because then hopefully other people see them and they're like, wow, that dude's, in really good shape. Wow, look at all these people in this area that are, built up and taking care of themselves. And it hopefully puts a good vibe out into the community that, like, this is how here are examples, of people that are doing disciplined work to better themselves.
Yeah, I think not only in the gym physically looking better, but I think character matters. I think how you present yourself. It does annoy me when I see someone like out bullying someone, or out drinking to the point of blackout and doing obnoxious things, wearing Iron Mine shirts. It's like, I want my community represented by people that are good to others. I don't want to continue on the negative stigma that people who work out and are larger feel like they're better than anyone whatsoever. Everyone, I would hope, is like at least a small amount humbled and remember they were beginners at one point also. And we lift people up to those...
No pun intended.
Yeah, we lift people up to be better versions of themselves, or whatever they want to be. And I mean, if you're happy living the way you are, and you are someone who happens to be obese, I pray for you that you never deal with like heart disease or diabetes, because those are serious health issues that like could lead to like why majority of everyone in America does pass eventually. I just want quality lives for people. I want people to live the best quality that they can live while they're here on this planet. My way is not the only way. You know, you could run, you could bike, you could rock climb, you can get involved with like fighting gyms, you could anything. Just get up off of the couch and start moving. You know, but yeah, I would say that the gym has been able to help people in that way quite a bit.
Absolutely.
And I want to just be able, like I said last time, to continue my reach. Keep preaching this message to people that they can be what they want, they can feel how they want to feel, and that it doesn't require spending thousands of dollars at the doctor. Invest in a personal trainer. Learn a little bit about nutrition and how it's fuel for your body and not just comfort food. You know, it's good to enjoy food, it's good to enjoy time out with your friends, but everything in moderation. You know, people talk about anabolic steroids and the fact that they're so harmful for you, but like, honestly, I think it's one of like the drugs that is probably a little less harmful for you when you take into how many hospital visits come from like alcohol abuse or any sort of drug abuse. Not promoting anabolic steroids by any means, but it's a life-saving drug for a lot of people. For my depression, it was huge to be able to get on TRT prescribed by a doctor, and I'm so happy to see like growth being made in the medical industry towards like the knowledge of male hormones, because previously it was all done behind the female hormones for the purpose of pregnancy, which is obviously an important thing. But as men get older, I think that motivation, that drive is very important.
I've had friends that have done cycles of TRT, and again, same thing, like they went to the doctors and got their levels checked and found that their testosterone levels were below where is the healthy amount, and having that supplement to bring the levels up to where they are, their bodies look better, they feel stronger, they're healthier, their bodies heal faster,
happier.
And it's like they're much happier, their mental confidence as well. And it's definitely an interesting thing that people kind of demonize in a way, but also because like it's like you said, guys, their testosterone will naturally tailor off as you get into your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, and there's no reason why it should be a bad thing to put those where they are, so that you can literally stay young, you know, into your later years and function better in your body and your joints and your knees, and you know.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have like a lack of knowledge on a lot of these aspects, and it's not their fault. It's the way media portrays things. Honestly, I'm just here to make people knowledgeable, not only about like physical health and fitness, but everything outside of that as well, if I can. You know, I'm not a know-it-all by any means. I don't know everything, but I'm for sure a student forever. And that's the way I always want to live my life. I don't want to be right about everything. I want to continue to grow. And that's what I've been able to do with the business. Like I said, I've made a lot of failed attempts at like not only financial investment, but time investment. And just like, I got to say, I'm thankful for all of it. And I was able to, like I said, expand my business to double the size. And I've just picked up a ton of new equipment on a business venture that kind of financially put the business at a small amount of risk if it wasn't a projected investment.
Do you want to go into detail about the new acquisition you just made? Because I think it's super exciting.
I would love to. It was my first time ever jumping into equipment resale. So there is a facility out in Palatine called the Briks, and they've been in business, or they were in business for about 3 years.
And it's a gym.
It was a gym.
Yeah.
About 10,000 square feet. They purchased a lot of Arsenal strength equipment, which I touched on in our last podcast. It's some of like the newest top of the line equipment that you can get currently. They model a lot of their equipment after the old school stuff that you just can't find anymore. And it was all brand new. It was bright green. It had their name on it and everything. And they invest into some of the nicest stuff. Why their business didn't work out at the end, I couldn't really tell you. There's a number of things that I could have guessed, but I'm not going to put that out into the the world.
You moved in and made an offer on just the equipment, like in bulk from the entire gym.
I wasn't interested in the location. I feel as if like some of that played a part in like their end, but yeah, I did take all of the equipment. I purchased it, and there's a great deal of it that I wanted for my facility, and I kept it. I kept a lot of the stuff, and I would say maybe about 25% of this gym I was able to keep all of that equipment and make a huge upgrade to my facility, put my financial at major risk for just a moment.
Yeah.
But in 10 days, the other 75% of the equipment that I purchased, I was able to sell off, I'd say about 65%. I'm left with about 10% of that, and I got to keep all the equipment that I did keep for free. It costed me absolutely nothing to completely upgrade the facility besides my sacrifice of like physical body.
Yeah.
We moved about like 70,000 pounds of equipment.
Jeez.
It was like 7 26-foot box trucks worth of equipment.
Wow.
And we stored it in like storage containers. At my house, I had 10,000 pounds of plates in my house. I had like strangers coming to my house picking up like plates, and I had a lot of friends help out. And that's the way we've been able to get a lot of our stuff done, is our community coming together and giving like helpful hands to be able to get things done, because people want to see the community grow and they want to see their gym get better.
Yeah. And I don't know if anybody's said this directly to you, so I'd like to. Like, this sounds like the first opportunity and like the big business moves. Like, you expanded and pretty much doubled your size at the gym here. And you officially have been a bigger fish that ate the little fish. Took all the equipment out, and like you said, you came out even. You were able to keep the equipment that you wanted out of that gym, add it to yours. You swallowed up this. I don't mean that in a bad way, right? More of like opportunities are out there.
Yeah.
But you seized that opportunity. You took a risk, which could have went really bad, but luckily and the universe let it work out the way it should, and here you are, after that 10 days after that. That's a pretty quick turnaround time, for that type of risky venture.
And not only that, is I've been on the side of buying from resellers for coming on 6 years now, and I got to be on the opposite side of that for the first time ever. I mean, like I've sold like bits and pieces to someone, quick transactions that I took probably huge losses on. But I studied my industry and I studied resale equipment, and before I even like purchased it, I had to come up with a figure to give this guy, which I'm not going to go around talking about how much money I spent necessarily, but like I went on Craigslist, OfferUp, Marketplace, and I searched for fitness equipment. I searched, like, they had a leg press. I wanted to look up a leg press and find out what its value is currently. Figure out, like, if there's any on the market. And the market was still pretty scarce. There was not much on there. You were basically paying a lot of money for not that great of equipment. So I figured when I made the purchase that this equipment is top-of-the-line equipment, that there was nothing like it on resale right now, that if you were a gym owner and you wanted to open up your location, or sorry, a future gym owner and you wanted to open up a new location or open up a larger location,
right,
or even replace some of your equipment, you wouldn't have been able to do that unless you purchased brand new or you purchased the equipment that I put on the market. And I would have kept everything if I had the ability to open a location tomorrow, but I'm not at that point yet. I was able to get the gym to like almost like a complete upgrade of that side. I mean, I'm almost running out of room with how much I could put on that side now. But we're going to make more adjustments. I talked to you about 3D rendering earlier, where we're going to change the layout of the floor plan of the equipment to like be the best possible fit and the best walking lanes. I want to maximize my space. I have a 6,000 square foot facility, and there's gyms in the city that are 40,000. I mean, I even went to one East Bank club downtown. It was 400,000 square feet.
Jeez.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
huge.
It's insane. Like membership is like $250 a month. It's where like a lot of like the famous athletes go when they're in town to like be isolated to themselves. There's no pictures allowed in there, stuff like that. But, if I want to be eventually the bodybuilding gym that you travel to in the city, when you come to Chicago, I got to continue to build up. And whether that means one big location or multiple small locations, we'll see as we continue to grow. I don't want to pay rent forever.
Yeah.
I think owning my own building is in the future. But I'd say that's probably my biggest expense out of like sustaining my own life and my employees. But nothing but growth for the last couple years. And I had to stop the supplement line. Unfortunately, that's one thing that we talked on. I didn't have direct access to the chemist that was involved, and I believe, dietitian that was involved in like making the pre-workout. I was kind of getting middled there.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel comfortable providing my members with something I couldn't believe in. So I cut it.
Important.
That was probably my last major loss. I invested a decent amount of money into it, and it didn't pan out. I still haven't started my own personal podcast. I had to stop doing the meal service I was doing. I took a lot on, and some things had to get put on like standby, and other things got to Excel.
Do you subscribe to the belief that in order to do one thing the best you can, that sometimes you have to stop other ventures and like solely put all your effort into one, like not spread yourself too thin?
Yeah. And that's why I've been working towards becoming a delegator of tasks. That is what I call being a boss. Maintenance of the facility, scrubbing the floors, mopping, dusting, bathrooms, mirrors, whatever it might be. It's all stuff that takes time, right? And how do I value my time? Where could my time be best spent? Obviously, maintaining a facility is very important to the membership base, and being able to provide something clean, something sanitary, because that's always been my thing. And through years of running the business, I was the one always on my hands and knees scrubbing everything. And then eventually the business grows, and there's other things like I love personal training people. It's fun to be able to see someone grow.
Right.
Marketing and advertising is obviously important for the business. Doing the Instagram, that's someone's full-time position at another location of like a corporate style gym. But here it's like between me and my employees, we're marketing, we're advertising, we're selling memberships, we're doing the cleaning, we're doing everything. So I'm delegating out simple tasks that almost anyone could do, so I could focus on the things that only I as the business owner can focus on. That's why I think people hire meal prep services, because delegating time to cooking and cleaning, or even there's someone that drives you around. It's called a chauffeur. Yeah. Even once you get to a certain spot of like so-called success, I'd call it maybe in business, people justify having someone drive them around.
I've seen and heard that is a very important part and a very common trend you find with business owners and successful people around, that as you get higher and higher and more expansive in your business, that your time is the most valuable resource, like you hinted on at the beginning of this podcast, because only you have the vision and the authority and the brain to steer the ship in the right direction, and safeguarding your time is the pinnacle, like the most important part of making sure that you don't get burnt out, because you're the driver here.
One of my favorite things to do is to talk to my members, though. And even if we have 660 members, I still try to make time for everyone. And 5-minute conversations across 660 people, it takes up a ton of time. But it's something I like to devote myself to, knowing my members. So it's something I still struggle with. Finding the time to talk to everyone and people please and care. I love my members, but when it cuts into my personal time of being able to decompress and relax, even cuts into my workouts from time to time. But you know what? While I'm here, I'm Joe. I'm Gym Guy Joe.
Iron Man Joe.
I'm Iron Man Joe. So sometimes my personal needs here have to get set aside, and I have to get an early morning session in if I want to work out, or I have to get a late night session, or eventually I might even have some stuff in my house. But no matter what, I want to be training, and no matter what, I want to be talking to my community, talking to my members. So that, I think, is time well spent.
So is there anything that you see like in the community that impacts you, and like what about Chicago is something that you're proud to like, have your business here in this city?
Man, it's how fast paced everything moves. I honestly, I love it a little bit. When you go out to like the country, like I consider even Kansas City, Missouri, or Branson, Missouri, where my family lives, partially like a little bit more southern, and people are nice and friendly there. And once you get into like close quarters with people in Chicago, people are very friendly. I think while you're on the road, while you're moving, while you're in public transit, whatever it might be, things are a little bit more feisty, but it keeps things moving. You got to get places.
Keeps it exciting.
Yeah, it keeps it exciting. I'd almost prefer to pull up to a drive-thru and people say, "What do you want?" I don't know. I feel like it's just a little bit of a Chicago thing. Manners and stuff is nice, but let's get to the point, just a little bit.
Right.
Once you get in close quarters with someone, they'll be super kind, friendly, whatever it might be. Now, one thing I'll say about like Chicago is I see people flee from Chicago like in flocks right now because
you mean like moving out,
like a lot of people I see going out to like Florida or Tennessee or Texas. A lot of people will talk about politics, red versus blue states, stuff like that. And given like some of the things that like COVID put under forced people into with like deciding vaccine or job, or deciding vaccine or gym, or businesses having to shut their doors, like we said, after 40 years of being open, I feel like people are tired of it and they want to get out, and the city's dangerous, and the police force really can't do much right now. I don't know if you heard, there's no more chases like on foot, there's no more car chases. Like basically if they run away or they do like any type of like criminal activity, if it doesn't justify chasing them because it's seen as like too potentially dangerous, whether it's in vehicle or by foot, like the cop just has to like stop. And people have like said for a long time now, Chirac, or now they call it like the Wild Wild West.
Interesting.
Like anything goes. Like carjackings are up, like homicides are up.
But are these things
suicides
that you see happening, or are you saying that it's not as bad as people are saying?
No, what I'm saying is right now is a hard time for Chicago. But this is home for a lot of people, and it's been home for a lot of people for a long time. And everything goes through phases. Everything has its ups and its downs. I think that Chicago is not going to be this way forever. I think that if you're someone that thinks that you're going to go somewhere else and that you're not going to see heinous things or crime or bad people, you're wrong, because bad people are everywhere.
It's true.
There's also a lot of good people everywhere. There's a lot of good people in Chicago, and not everyone's bad, and everyone's not out to get you. The government, be what it will. Like it's gonna shift up and down. Chicago's been a blue state. Illinois has been a blue state because of Chicago. But I think honestly, if you're not a big fan of the city, Naperville, I believe, is like 30 minutes away.
Yeah,
and it's one of the safest places in the country to raise a family, like the lowest crime rate out of anywhere in the country. And it's like you could always like take a trip out to the suburbs, you could be out there, and you could be close enough to the city if you ever want it. It's the Midwest. My favorite thing about it is that the city never stops. I mean, it could be mountains of snow outside and people are getting up for work, they're going to school, they're out there. They know it's coming, so they prepare for it. And then you got 9 months out of the year where you're living inside, where sure, vitamin D deficiency is a huge issue in Chicago. You should take your vitamins because of the lack of sun.
Come towards the mic a little bit. It's okay.
But vitamin D is obviously an issue in Chicago, but you got 9 months of the year to just put your nose down and work.
Yeah.
I feel like in these places that are very hot, and there's like a lot of comfort, there's a lot of opportunity to fall into that. And comfort is, again, like we said on the last podcast, like I'll say again now, is not a place of growth. So I think when there's nothing to do, you can either decide to be lazy or you can decide to put your nose down and just get it done. And I think especially being in the gym industry, that's our busy season. that's where like everything outside stops. So where are people going? They're going to the gym in the winter. They still want to get their workout in. And they still want to get shit done. And that's the way it's always going to be in the Midwest. I feel like you got to work through.
Yeah, that busyness that you were talking about is definitely something I enjoyed when I was here, in the sense that the city is built like a well-oiled machine. And
Yeah.
the fact that if you can position your housing along the train routes for the subway,
Yeah.
you don't have to have a car. You can get around. The Ubers are relatively cheap here, and there's so much activity in like every square mile of the city that no matter where you are, you have access to some really nice like independent restaurants and smaller family-owned style businesses. Even after the pandemic, I mean, now that I'm back here for this week where we've been, there's been, you know, that the access to those like nice coffee shops and dinner spots. And but the best thing for me that I enjoyed is just like how cheap it is to get around, and how much, as you pointed to, like people are on go mode, people are on business mode, and it's about progress and goal setting and achieving, and you find a lot of those business minded people in this area, and I feel like it's a great place to chase, you know, that activity if that, you know, those are the goals that you're after.
Yeah, I mean, like if you want to settle down, have like a family, I'd say CPS might not be the best school district in the country, but there's a lot of suburbs where I've heard some like cool schools for like younger kids, and like ways that I never grew up while being here. But you know, I wasn't the best at school, never went to college, and here I am, like I count by 45s and 25s basically for a living.
Right.
And
That's a good way to put it.
yeah, you know, I enjoy what I do, and I was able to do it without school. And both my parents never went to school, and they're both killing it. And they were able to help me get my stuff started. And I think passing down not only financial to like your children or your friends or your family or anyone that you want to see succeed, but also just knowledge. I think knowledge could be passed down not only through the education system, but person to person. We sit here and we talk, and I learn something new, and you get to learn something new too. So, but yeah, Chicago's great, and I don't think it's worth giving up on, for sure.
It's definitely worth expanding your gym into.
I would say this is my little piece of Chicago that's like paradise to me. This is my canvas. I see all of the city, all the dysfunction and all the beauty, and this is what I decide to make. And at least 660 people agree with me that this is a nice thing. You know,
I think it's so cool. I forget, like even just talking to you now, like I know this, but I also forget that, you know, you said you're 26.
29th, I'll be 26.
Close enough.
Yeah.
So you're about to turn 26, and you seem so much more older and mature and wise. I definitely think because you've been through this business for the past 6 years, and it's just so fascinating to me because, you know, me being 24, I'll be 25 in November. I have a lot of friends in this 23 to 27 age range, and it's very slim and far between that I find somebody who's as accomplished as you are at this age, or as driven, or has been able to produce and act upon goals and dreams of theirs, which is, you know, a reason why I wanted to get you back on the podcast, because I think it's important for people to see somebody at your, you know, young age of 25 being pretty much, you know, main controller of this gym. You know, now that you've taken over a lot of the business from your dad, it's like, it's a big inspiration to people. And, you know, like you said before, you have 15, 20, 30 years, you know, ahead of you in this gym industry. And it's exciting for me to see how much progress you've made even since I started coming here in the last 2 years. And like to think, oh, this man's got 30 more years of, you know, gym building.
I think, I don't know the exact phrase, it's like you could lead a man to water.
But you
right?
can't lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah, exactly. So like I was given an opportunity, and it was up to me to cash in on it if I so decided to. And I decided kind of life or death for me. This is my life. This is my passion. This is what I want to do with it. And I'm not willing to live like an ordinary lifestyle. This is what I want. You said last podcast, and it really resonated with me. I listened to it right before we got on today, and I don't feel like anyone should really be in charge of me, is what you said. And living this like, it's so scary to live this free of a life and be able to do anything I want, basically anytime I want. And like, you have to make the right decision. You have to make the decision to want this every day, to make this work. And it's terrifying because you're in charge of if you win or not, or succeed or not, or don't lose, don't crash and burn. Luckily, I'm just an artist that people decide they like.
I think a lot of people can say that. Or not like a lot of people can say that. But
I'm so lucky.
You know, are very, very grateful that people
everyone
decide to pay attention.
Everyone could turn around tomorrow and say they don't like what I've built.
Yeah.
And that's a thought that goes through my head.
And that's something that I'm dealing with too, like mentally with the podcast, right? Like I took this month off work unpaid to travel and do this podcast and edit and like focus all of my energy on to make this season of episodes like the best that I could make it. And I relate to the scariness that you're talking about. It's like, oh, I don't have, like, in the perfect world, I'm done working my 9 to 5 and this takes off and I'm able to, because this past month of not having my typical 9 to 5 has been beautiful. Like, I can work when I need to, I can produce the podcast, and then, you know, I'm over in Denver so I can go hiking when I want to, and hopefully I can carry this schedule into winter so that I can snowboard when I'd like to. And that is like the beauty of it, and something that I've been told and heard on podcasts or successful whatever books, and it's that in your 20s this is the time to embrace poverty and not sell yourself to a business for a paycheck. Something that kind of resonates with me is the saying that, like, and I'm gonna butcher this a little bit, but like, a salary is a drug that a business gives you to keep you around. And it's like, you get this constant drip of money every 2 weeks, or, you know, each month you get this set money that comes in, and it gives you the mental, you know, willingness to take on debt with the thought that, oh, you know, I'll get this paycheck, the paycheck will come, and then you get more debt and the paycheck comes. But
it's a cycle,
right? And I found that stepping away, even if it has been, you know, for a month so far, there's a new type of strategy or strategic thinking that comes into my head of like, okay, that's not here anymore. We don't have a paycheck to fall back on, and it's save this money here, take this opportunity now so you can get this paycheck, you can make this paycheck basically, like, for yourself. And it's a exciting way to kind of go through life at this point, and I'm sure it's not for everyone.
No, some people definitely want to live by the comfort. They want to know that they're going to have that paycheck. They want to know that they can continue to live the life they're leading right now, and that's absolutely fine. You know, the world needs people of both sides of that, I think. I mean, it'd be really cool to see everyone building something, you know, but I don't know if we'll ever get to see that. I don't know if a lot of people are willing to take that leap. But
you guys are.
I hope you guys are. You know, if you got something you're passionate about, work for it. And I got to honestly say, I wouldn't be on the podcast if I didn't support your journey.
I appreciate it.
And I think you're an awesome artist. And I like the snowboard stuff. I like the podcast, and I hope you keep going with it. I hope it's 1 million subscribers.
That's the goal.
But yeah, man, I've been really excited about this all week, and I hope for nothing but success for you, Mason. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. Those are super kind words, and you know, I appreciate hearing that, because it drives me to, or you know, it gives me the confidence that other people actually are interested in, you know, what I'm putting out here. And it's been a fun journey, even in the small time. You know, I've had this since 2020, and it's been an on and off project, and now it's definitely more of an on project. And it's exciting.
Yeah.
The way you talk about the gym, I get the same type of excitement out of building the podcast as my own, like, creative venture that, you know, is all about helping the people that are listening, and it's about bringing these conversations to light and highlighting people that have been successful or working towards a passion, at the same way that I am, the same way that you are. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
And it's just hopefully to open more people's eyes to what's possible out of this life, and what, you know, what you do and don't have to settle for.
And I think consistency is key, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep going, keep
on
doing your
going.
podcast, keep doing whatever it is that you're passionate about, because the thing is like people love someone that has a direction, and like people build art all the time and they get super popular, and in my opinion, like you have 50% of people that are going to like something, mess with it, 50% that aren't, or different percents, right? Like some people like Marvel, and that's why a lot of gyms put Marvel up on their walls. But there's going to be a certain percent of people that don't like that, and that's okay. People are allowed to have like what tastes of the world that they enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, if you keep doing your thing, someone eventually is going to really, and I hope you get that opportunity to continue to do what it is that you love. And I hate when I do see some people sell out and like have someone else start to tell them what to do. And I hope you get to reach your goal of being able to do whatever you want, man.
Ain't nobody telling me what to do, that's for sure. Joe, is there anything you want to plug that the gym has coming up, or where people can find some of your content?
Yeah, so we actually have a website that we're building. It's ironmindchicago.com.
Cool.
It should be up in the next few weeks. We're going to be doing QR codes on every individual piece of machine, where we're filming videos on how to use each item. That way, if anyone ever has any questions, they could always still ask. But there'll be a quick and easy QR code that links you directly to the website or the YouTube channel that we'll be starting. And man,
what about
just,
Instagram?
Instagram, Facebook. We do all of those.
Is it the tags are Iron Mind Gym?
It's Iron Mind Gym on both. Yep. And then the YouTube, we're not sure yet. We haven't made it. We're looking into videos. We hope to continue to learn and grow the business. We've managed 6 years without a website so far, but it's always a good move. You know, we'll get more information out there to people, and that's what's important, is being able to have people know what we are before you ever stop by. And if you meet with me, some of my employees like Danny, Adam, Mikey, or even get to come across some of my trainers, Marlon, Nikki, Tito, Chris, David. They're all friendly faces that are willing to lend you a hand in any way, shape, or form, as far as like showing you around the gym, the equipment, or just introducing you to new friendly people. So this is the place to come if you're in Chicago and you want a serious training environment. Beautiful. Somewhere where you can work and have a little bit of fun as well.
Beautiful.
So,
well, thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Mason J Show. I appreciate you coming on, Joe, and we will catch you guys on the next episode. Bless.